Welcome to episode 31 of Tui Snyder's Show and Tell. This is a streaming show where I interview a variety of experts about all sorts of things, everything from cemetery symbolism, forgotten history, folklore, the paranormal, quirky travel sites, UFOs, maybe even a little Bigfoot here and there. Basically, all the offbeat and overlooked people, places, and things that tickle my fancy. And as I always say, I have a very ticklish fancy. Now, in case you're new here, I'm Tui Snyder. I write books, I give talks, I do a lot of research, and I see that we have a couple people here. Hi, Debbie. How you doing up in Canada? Thanks for coming. So glad you could make it. I'll keep an eye on that and see who else shows up. As usual, I have a few announcements to make before I really dive into our show. Our guest today, let me see if I can make this a little bigger, is Loren Rhoads, and she is a returning guest. Some of you may have seen her before, and if you didn't, you can always catch the replay, dig through. I've got a whole playlist. We talked about all sorts of graves and cemeteries last time. I see that Alex is here. Hey, greetings. You're in Utah, right? So we got Utah and Canada in the house, and we got a few more people who are being quiet. I know that some of you, I've had a couple people email me last week and say that they don't actually have YouTube accounts. So when I'm asking them to say hi and stuff, they can't, because you can't, if you don't have an official YouTube account, you can watch this video, but you cannot pop into the chat. So to each their own. Hiya, Nicole. Great to see you. Now, before I bring Loren on, and it's going to be very interesting, she has an excellent memoir that she just published, very death-positive memoir, lots of really intimate stories. I really enjoyed it. I love memoirs, so it was really fun to read. But I have a few announcements to make. I will be telling you who won the books that Patty gave away from last week's interview. I had Patricia Josephine here, so I'm going to get to that. And then, howdy, Gail. Nice to see you. Here, I guess if I wave with his hand, you can see it. StreamYard's a little confusing. It reverses everything. Nice to see you. Glad you can make it. So I am going to be, this is going to be my last interview for a few weeks. I'm not sure how many exactly. I'm under contract to write a book with Reedy Press, and I'm falling a little behind. I want to make sure I get it out. So I'm just kind of pulling back on everything except for a few choice things. And so I'm having to kind of cut out this program because, believe it or not, it takes time to prepare. So, but the book that I'm doing for them is a scavenger hunt book. And I don't have an official cover for it yet. This one's for St. Louis that you see in this picture here. But it's going to be called Dallas Scavenger. And they have all sorts of these scavenger hunt books for all sorts of different cities. Like mine's going to be about Dallas, and I think it's going to be so fun. I've already done a lot on it. What it is the book will take you on a fun scavenger hunt through Dallas. You can do it on your own, you can do it with your family, but there is a cryptic clue that's written like a little poem, and then there's a photograph for like 300 different places throughout Dallas. And so you can go neighborhood by neighborhood and kind of work your way through the book and have fun. And so I'm in the thick of that, and I'm just having to take a little time off. Now, if you think you're going to miss me, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. It's over at my website, tuisnyder.com. The other nice thing about signing up for my newsletter is you can then download this free book that I made that will help you understand what different cemetery symbols mean for hands. And hands is a really good gateway into the world of cemetery symbols because we've all know what hands look like. So they're easily identifiable, and yet they can be such a variety of things, everything from sacrifice to secret societies to, all sorts of interest. I don't want to get all the way, just check it out. So, and I email people every Sunday, and that's something that I continue to do even when I'm busy like I am. Or I've bitten off more than I can chew, like I have. And now the other thing I've got going on is that I'm doing that road trip I took in August. I am still releasing a weekly photo essay over on my Patreon account. And you can actually follow me for free on Patreon and read the free updates. Some of them you have to support me at least a dollar level. But, whatever. You can go check out a few of my road trip postcards, and those are still going to come out every Wednesday. It was a really fun road trip. There was gorgeous roads. There was lots of goofy roadside attractions. I love that big microphone. We went, as I talked about this last week a little bit, if you want to hear more about it, we went and saw the Marfa lights, which it was something I'd wanted to do my whole life. And of course, me being me, we saw some, jury's out. I got to go back and see the Marfa lights again. But we also saw some really wonderful cemeteries. I like the name Phantom Hill. That was really pretty fascinating. So like I said, once again, if you just go to patreon.com/2esnyder and you want to get my photo essays, those are coming out every Wednesday. And speaking of Patreon, oh, hey, I see someone else here I got to say hello to. Hi, Penumbra, MM Ward. Oh, hi, hey. Nice to see you. Glad you could come. Oops. I always have a fake ad, an ad from some of my research. I just keep running into these ads for this product called 666, and it just catches my eye. It's in a lot of the newspaper research that I do from the 1800s. There are ads for it. I don't know, these days, who would name their product 666? They had to have known the implications. And what gets me too is they're constantly touting it as a malaria cure, which has really made me wonder how prevalent malaria was throughout the South, because I'm reading about this in Dallas newspapers quite frequently, Louisiana, throughout the South. So that's kind of raised a little question, something more for me to look up. How much malaria do people have? Maybe some of you guys know. I had never really realized it was such a thing back in the late 1800s here. So, of course, the real supporters of my show, the real people behind the scenes, are my Patreon supporters, and that would include Pete, Envy, Julie, Ghost Cat, Bob, Connie, Eva, Ian, Sarah, Mikhail, Naomi, Margaret, Hugh, Anne, Jessica, Jay, Rachel, Angel, Ken, Patty, Veronica, Joe, Donna, and the other Tui, who is no relation to me. All righty. Now, one more thing I got to tell you is tonight at 8 p.m. Central, I am going to be a guest on What the Paranormal. And if you haven't checked out her show and you're into ghosty stuff, you're going to love her. I found out about her from Debbie McWatters, who is here. It's a mother-daughter paranormal team. They're very lighthearted, a lot of fun. They're located in Texas. I hope to meet them in person sometime. Oh, I see someone else is here. Hi, Philip. I hope you get to stay too. And if you don't, of course, replays are forever. And a couple things we are going to talk about tonight is something that happens to me this time each year, throughout the year, of course, but as Halloween approaches, more and more well-intentioned people forward me articles, email me stuff about, hey, have you seen this grave of a witch? There's a witch's grave here. And unless it's in Salem, Massachusetts, I got to tell you, people, most of the time, these are just complete falsehoods about just an unusual grave. And I talk about that a bit in my post, but I also talk about a real witch grave that you can see and the surprising source for it. So you might want to check that out. I also have another article. I have the links to these in the show notes, so you can, if you want to check them out. I just had to write a response to it because I think I got 7 forwards and 7 people like Monday morning telling me about different witch graves that really weren't witch graves. And I was like, I just have to come up with a response to this so I can point people to an article in future. And you can too. Now, another thing is there's certain cemetery symbols. There's 3 commonly misunderstood cemetery symbols, and people are constantly, not constantly, but especially this time of year, sending me things about an email that says, hey, help, is my grandma a devil worshiper? And it's really just a benign Christian symbol. And, so I wrote another article about that just to help set the record straight. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit at What the Paranormal Should Be Fine. All right, I want to announce who won Patty's books. Now, Patty, my friend Patty was on last week, and she writes a lot of zombie books and paranormal books, and they're really unique. One thing she does that I really love are her flash fiction, and she writes these stories that are only 200 words long, and yet you find yourself thinking about the characters later. There's one that just broke my heart. I still think about the little character in it, and I'm like, whatever happened to him? So she's really got a gift for this, and she made a gift of her books, and I got to tell you who won. Debbie McWatters, who is here today. Yay! Of course, you don't have to be present to win, but she won, and I'm so happy that she did, and I think she's going to enjoy these books. And Patty, I gave her... Debbie, I contacted Debbie earlier and got her email. And so hopefully Patty's gotten a hold of her. I don't know if she has yet, but at some point you will be reading those books. And when you are done with her books, which I know you're going to love, I hope you'll think of leaving a review somewhere for them, like Amazon or Goodreads. I'm terrible about that because I tend to overthink my reviews. I want to write the best review in the world, and that's really stupid. I should just write a review and get over it. So if you really want to make authors happy, reviews are one way to do it. Now, before I bring in Loren, I'm just going to tease you guys a little bit longer. And I just want to remind you that if you happen to be here, why don't you go ahead and like this video? Because then you're going to make me feel really good. Patty hasn't gotten a hold of you yet. Oh, okay. I think she had some stuff going on today. I hadn't heard back from you yet. She will. She's real good. She's responsible. So take a second. Give this video a like, because I mean, if you're here, I figure you must be enjoying it a little bit so far, or you're going to be, hopefully. All right. So now let me tell you about our guest who I'm about to bring in. Some of you will already be familiar with her, I know, but here is her official bio, which I'll try to read in an official bio voice. It says, Loren Rhoads is the author of 199 Cemeteries to See Before You Die and Wish You Were Here, Adventures in Cemetery Travel. She was the editor of Morbid Curiosity magazine for 10 years and put together a collection of her favorite essays from the magazine in Morbid Curiosity, Cures the Blues, True Tales of the Unsavory, Unwise, Unorthodox, and Unusual. I love that title. Her most recent book is This Morbid Life, which is a death-positive memoir, and she sent me some photos for it. I'm really excited, and I should let you know that Loren is giving away an ebook version of This Morbid Life to one lucky commenter. So if you would like to read her book for free, perhaps win a copy, then please leave a comment on this video, and I will be choosing somebody or having my husband just choose a random number, and we'll do it. We'll choose somebody next week, and perhaps it will be you. So without further ado, let me bring Loren in, and we can get this party started. Hi. How you doing, Loren? Yay!
Hi there.
So glad to have you back.
Oh, thanks so much for having me back.
Yeah, people are okay. I think everyone's, yes, always enjoy it. People are excited experiences and so curious about one of them. You actually attended, well, maybe I should let you just give an overview of the book first here. Why don't you just tell people a brief overview, and then I'm going to dive in here.
A brief overview. Okay. Yeah. It's a collection of essays that were written for zines from, I think the first one was 1991 until last year. So
wow,
long period of time. And the truth is in the title. It really is a morbid life. Stories about visiting cadaver labs or going to medical museums or standing at deathbeds. I'm having trouble with that. And not all of it's death oriented. There's one piece about eating bugs at a science museum because you got to take the opportunities when you can find them. So
that's right.
And I fell in love with sensory deprivation tanks, and so that's one of the later.
Those are fun.
Yeah,
I would like to do that again. I've only done it once, and I really did enjoy it. So your book reminded me that that was a great experience. I should look into that because it is like better than a massage in a way. You come out so relaxed.
Well, and people were teasing me about, can you speak to dolphins? Did you grow a tail? Like, no, but just super relaxed. And I went into it a little claustrophobic, and I've never had a claustrophobic experience, you know,
I'm
the
that
tanks
was
that I
yeah,
use.
I'm claustrophobic too.
Yeah, well, these tanks are so big that you can like sit up and not bump your head. They're like huge, tall, and they're so big inside that you can't quite stretch your arms out straight, but you know, reasonably far out and not bump into the walls. And so it's the
Wow.
best. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, now, as I was starting to say, one of the things in your book that made me a little jealous was that you attended um, at a writing retreat at a haunted mansion. And,
That is
and
the
and
best.
it was hosted by someone named Rain Graves, which I thought the
Mhm.
name was really perfect too. I thought maybe me and the audience would love to hear about that.
Well, Rain had worked at this mansion that's across the Golden Gate and up the mountain there, and she had all these weird experiences, and so she thought this would be the best place for a writing retreat for horror writers. So the first year I went, I think there were 10 of us in this big mansion, and just weird stuff happened, like constantly. And I couldn't get to sleep the first night. I was all wound up. And there, the only person I knew going up there was Rain. So everybody else was a total stranger, and they're all horror writers. And so I was expecting somebody to sneak around, you know, at night and like rattle all the doors or something like that. So
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. And I finally was almost dawn, and I decided, okay, this is it. You know, I've got to get some sleep because I'm not going to get any writing done tomorrow. So I rolled over on my stomach and I kind of wrapped my arms around the pillow and was almost asleep. And then something touched my head. I
Yeah.
lay there for a minute and I thought, yeah, that really happened. And,
Yeah.
you know, rolled over. And of course, I was alone in the room and the door was still shut and all of that. And so I just said to the ghost, look, it's late and I really need to get some sleep, but I'm glad to know that you're here. So maybe we can talk tomorrow, you know, once it's daylight. And I rolled over and I went to sleep. And then, you know, afterwards I thought that you had a ghost in your room, you just turned your back and you went to sleep. But I was
It
so
happens a
tired.
lot. I've heard
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, and I've even had experiences like that that maybe I didn't even remember till maybe a week later. And I thought, wait a minute, and
That
why
was
didn't I
weird.
go? Why did I just go to sleep after that?
Yeah. Well, the best thing about it is I got up, it was like 8 o'clock or something like that. I and figured I'd be the first person downstairs. So I went downstairs to see if somebody had made coffee. And one of the
Yeah.
other writers was sitting up and he was just, you know, kind of
Oh.
rocking. And I said, what happened to you? And he said he woke up and there was a shadow standing over him
Ooh.
and he was completely paralyzed. And this thing
Ooh.
just kept looming up bigger and bigger over him. And his roommate in the other bed rolled over, saw that he was having this ghost experience, and turned over and went back to sleep.
Oh
And so he was completely shaken because he was the one I'd ridden up there with, and he'd never had a ghostly experience. He didn't expect anything to happen, and you know he was kind about it, but you know he was not prepared, I guess.
no.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
you know, we sat up and drank coffee and we were all relaxed by the time other people got up. And apparently the ghost had gone from room to room and kind of woken everyone up
Uh-huh.
because everybody had weird experiences
Oh,
that
that's
morning.
neat because you
Yeah,
know if one person hadn't or it just slept through it, they might have been feeling
right.
a little left out. So that sounds like the perfect place. Yeah, Penumbra's saying like ghost in the room. Oh well, just another night. Good night. Yeah, I know. I hear that all the time though. People didn't. I've done that before myself. It is weird. Oh, sorry guys. Apparently we're freezing a little bit.
Oh
It's
no,
90. It's 90 degrees here. Oh no. Yeah, I don't
it's
know, guys.
cold here.
I love your. By the way, I love your little.
I've got my mittens on.
Oh, those look so like I'm very texture oriented. Those look so cozy.
Very
Like
soft.
if like I could wear those if I had to go to the doctor's office or something, you know, because it's always cold in those rooms. Anyway, very cute. I'm says I'm okay now. Oh, okay, good, Debbie. I always feel bad when the connection's wrong. I closed all my 155 windows that I always have up. I always try to be good before the show. I don't know, doing what I can. Now, one thing you mentioned, I think, is this picture from? Was this on the wall of the haunted?
Yeah.
mansion.
When we were looking at all the rooms, we got to pick which room we were going to sleep in, and pretty much everybody else came with a friend or a date or something like that. So they had company, but I was the only one who was there solo.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out, if I sleep in a room with a stranger, is the ghost going to mess with me more? If I sleep by myself, which way am I going to be more comfortable? But I came into this room and there was this beautiful piece of silk with the phoenixes embroidered on it, and I have a big phoenix tattoo.
Oh, I'll show it. Yeah.
This is the room for me.
And you had
And
a very
really
comforting experience. I liked how nice
Yeah.
the ghost was. If it was the same one going room to room, you didn't get the sleep paralysis yuckiness.
I know. That would have been awful.
Yeah, no kidding. I want to show you. You've got that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Well, this is, I have the four elements, one on each limb. And this is fire. It was the last one I got and the hardest one to pick because I couldn't think of, I didn't want a big red tattoo because I think sometimes they look like scars from a distance. So I wanted it to be fiery, but not,
Yeah,
devil
like people are
something
thinking, oh
like
no,
that.
is that a scar? Yeah, there
Right.
are.
Right. So it's kind of hard to see, but up at the
Yeah.
top of my shoulder is the head, and then it's the phoenix, and it goes all the way down through my elbow.
Yeah, that
And
looks.
oh, you've got the
like that.
detail.
I got the detail. I love that. I thought, there's a.
It's holding a skull, and it was the memorial tattoo I got after my brother died. He was 2 years younger than me, and I wanted something to be able to carry him with me. But when he died, it felt like I'd lost a limb. I don't know if you've gone through something like that, but it just felt like I'd known him his whole life. He'd been with me.
Yeah.
I can remember. And so just not having him there felt like I'd been halved. So I wanted to carry his skull, a skull, in his memory.
Yeah, there is something about a death that's close to you that's almost like a phantom limb syndrome afterwards. Like you forget they're dead. Like if it's not someone, if they lived away apart from you as well, at least for me, and I don't know. Anyway, it's just something that I thought
he lived in Michigan and I lived in California. And so we communicated a lot by phone, but there were so many times I wanted to pick up the phone and call him. And for all the ghost experiences I've had, I've never had one with my brother. So
yeah, that's interesting.
When you want them to, I guess.
I had someone fairly close to me pass away, and I thought for sure I would be contacted in some manner or just pick up on something. But I had a reader, like the first person who ever bought a book from me in person, and he passed away. He had a very distinct voice.
Wow.
And he would pronounce my name kind of like Trury. It was really, but like imagine that 2 octaves lower that I can't get to. And so I'm like, taking some clothes in and putting them into the dresser. And I hear him call my name the day like after he had passed away. And it was like, okay, that had to be him. It was very heartening, but he's not someone I would have thought that would have. I'm like, why did he get to contact me? How does that work? I just, anyway, so. Here we go. I love the meaning behind this tattoo. Yeah, I really like that. The whole idea of a memorial tattoo. I really do like that. I think that is really, really cool. Oh, and one thing that I learned from your book that I hadn't thought about was the symbolic meaning of the phoenix to San Francisco. When you say it, it seems obvious, but I didn't know this.
No, the year I got my tattoo was 2006. It was the 100th year anniversary of the earthquake. And I had been down to the earthquake celebration. They do one every year where it's like 5:15 in the morning when the earthquake struck. Yeah. So they get together and people come in costume and we all sing San Francisco, open your golden gate, and
oh wow,
it's a big thing. So
yeah, it sounds cool.
2006, I actually dragged myself out of bed to go down to the event. I don't know what made me think Phoenix would be a great idea, but I didn't connect the two until the tattoo artist had finished it, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing a lot of phoenixes this year." I said, "Why?" because it's the San Francisco symbol. It's on our flag. So
I just
yeah,
didn't
now I
know
got San
that.
Francisco too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I thought that was really neat. Yeah, it's cool. I like that. I was like, wow, well, how special. All right. Oh, I wanted to ask you earlier on. Oh, yeah, you one of your first essays, I think you mentioned, we were all teenagers once, and you talk about taking prom photos in a cemetery, which is probably something I would have done as well, but I didn't. Darn, got to go back in time. Yeah.
Wasn't
Anyway.
even my idea.
Oh.
One of my date had this vampire fixation. I mean, this was
Yeah.
right after Interview with the Vampire came out. And so
Perfect timing.
we were all dressed up. He said, "Why don't we go stand on the mausoleum steps and take some pictures?" So we did, and it took me a long time to like process that because I didn't go to cemeteries. That was something that weirdos did, and I wasn't a weirdo.
You didn't know you were a weirdo yet.
Little did I know. Yeah, that was fate
Mhm.
taking a hand right there.
And then you had this photo too from it. Is this one of
Yeah.
this is the cemetery you were at, or one nearby one you went to?
This is the one we were at. The sculpture wasn't there at that time, but it was within a year or two afterward. They placed the sculpture, and it is amazing. I mean, it's hard to tell in this because you don't get the scale, but they're life size. There's 7 kids, and they're playing crack the whip, and each one is individualized. They're all different races.
Oh, neat.
Boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
One of the girls has lost a Birkenstock, and it's like separate in the grass.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she's the last one in the line that she's being dragged off her feet. And it is just the most amazing place.
I love that. That looks like
yeah.
such a cool cemetery, and that's a really unique sculpture. I was wondering, I was like, well, I'll just ask her when she's on. Like, I didn't know if this was specific kids or if it was in the the child section, or if it's just someone just, how did this, do you know much about it?
Yeah, this is Sunset Hills Cemetery in Flint, Michigan.
Oh,
and
okay.
all throughout it, there are these life-size statues. And so sort of in the back behind that bush, there's another statue that's a grandfather and a little girl, and he's sitting on a bench holding out Nestle's Hershey's bar.
Wow.
And she's got a Raggedy Ann doll, and you would think they were real people.
That is really neat.
Yeah, so there's like a whole series of them through the cemetery. And Flint, Michigan used to be a very wealthy town. It was the home of General Motors, and so there used to be a lot of money there. But this was like the mid 80s, the early 80s. They started placing these sculptures in the cemetery, and it's a spectacular place. I mean, it's the whole.
Like it. I think of cemeteries as being, out, living outdoor museums. And I like sculpture gardens a lot. So to me, that just seems perfect. I wish they did that more. It's really cool. Well, anyway, so it's on my list to see. I've got a lot of cemeteries actually in Michigan now that I want to see. I keep learning about.
Interesting. You have to go on a vacation.
Definitely need a cemetery road trip. Well, here's another of the photos. I thought this was really cool. Maybe you could tell us about.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm outside of Flint, and I never felt like I belonged there. It's a very Christian town, and I always felt a little out of place because I like to read the vampire books and stuff. So after I had moved to California, my dad had a catastrophic heart attack, and he was 52, so I was not quite 30, I guess. And it was the sort of thing where he totally downplayed it. He was out doing some work on the farm.
Stoic.
Yeah, exactly.
Farmer.
Something in his chest went ping, and he started to feel hot. But it wasn't your classic, crushing chest pains and pain in your arm and all of that. So he went up to the house and he laid down, and he called my grandmother, who lived down the road, to say, please call the handyman out in the yard and tell him, stop doing the farm work. Dad wasn't going to be able to help him. And, just totally didn't let on. I'm having a heart attack right now. Can you help me or anything?
Yeah. Talk about understatements.
Yeah. So nobody thought to call me. They didn't know how he was, and they didn't want to worry me and all of that. And so finally my brother calls, and he says, there's a weird echo.
There's a weird echo?
Yeah, let me see. No, it stopped. It stopped.
Oh, good. Okay.
He said, we think he's okay. They're going to do some exploratory surgery. Don't stress about it. And then they didn't call me after the surgery. And so I thought, well, this is not good. Finally, my brother calls and says, yeah, he had 4 blockages. It was catastrophic, this heart attack. And he was lucky he didn't die. So my brother says, get on the next plane. I'll pay for your ticket. And, I came running across the country figuring, my dad and I, we haven't always seen eye to eye. This is it. This is the moment where we finally, tell each other everything we want to say and all of that. And he was so mad that I came because I think he felt like I was rushing to his deathbed, and that would show weakness if he was dying. And so one of the things he got from the hospital was this heart pillow, and he was supposed to hold it if he had to cough, so that the split in his breastbone wouldn't, open up the stitches. So it was bizarre. People came out of the woodwork to help. He was it was harvest time, and he had crops in the field and animals to feed and all of this.
And he's all like, I don't have time for this heart stuff. But totally. I know. This was a very moving essay. This one in the book really touched me, I thought. And I just like the whole image of the heart pillow and just him hugging that. And you're kind of like, why isn't he hugging me? I don't know. There's just so much. I felt so much in this one, and just the heart being, I like this picture too, to actually see the heart pillow. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those experiences where, I wanted it to change everything, and it didn't really change anything. And so then I had to, that's what I talk about in the piece, is I had to deal with, this is not about me.
I like how your book is like, it's really just all about life. I mean, it's got lots of death and, how we treat death and everything, but it really is about life. It's your life. I can't explain it. All right. But I thought I had a thought there.
That's kind of my goal, is that, we all know we're going to die, and it's really easy to just stay busy and not think about that. But
yes, I got the chores to do, and whatever.
Exactly. There's always one more thing you got to take care of, right? But it really is about walking in the sun and getting out to the cemetery and smelling the flowers and just appreciating everything here now while we're here. So.
Yes, I think your book offers a chance for people to kind of see how you've woven all these interests through your life and balanced the life and death, and that it's really, yes, what may look really morbid to someone, she went to a cadaver lab and she's talking about this, is really just you diving really the balancing the aspects of life. I still haven't figured it out, but I really did.
The cadaver lab was like one of the key experiences of my life, because
I've got pictures of that. I could skip ahead if you want,
we'll
get to it later.
Come to that story when you want.
I'll make that the end. Make that at the end. Yeah, okay. We'll tease the audience here. Wait, just wait. The cadaver lab's coming. Oh, and someone who figures prominently in your book. I love this photo. You can tell us. Because I was trying to picture him, like you hear about him so much and throughout the book. So I was glad you sent this picture.
This is my friend Jeff, who we are kindred spirits, and I knew him. I rented a room in his house in Ann Arbor the year after I graduated from school, and he was 3 or 4 years younger than me. I can't do the math, but
little younger,
hit it off. And
Mhm.
he was one of those people who was always experimenting and, adventuring and just seeing how far he could go with things.
Seems like you
And
guys bounced
so,
a lot off of each other, that person
yeah,
that you could yeah. Uh-huh.
so we lived together. This is our first house in San Francisco. We rented a house together, uh, Jeff and me and my husband, and we were halfway between Haight Street and the Castro neighborhood, which was pretty much, our
Yeah.
personalities. Haight Street and the Castro neighborhood.
That's
And
funny.
this was one of the nights when we were getting ready to go out.
Huh.
Jeff was he was 23 when he tested positive for HIV. So it was just a huge
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
then several years afterwards, he was a domestic partner. They couldn't actually get married yet, but he was, in
Mhm.
all respects, his husband. Tested positive and
Mhm.
quickly developed AIDS. And so I had the honor of being one of the nurses as Jeff's husband died, and
And you write
nursing.
about that so frankly and clearly. I really appreciated that, you know. So
Well, that was another one of those experiences of where I was so angry. Blair had a terminal disease, and everybody knew it. The doctors knew it, but there was no way to help him with that. No, there was no assisted suicide in those days, and so
mhm.
the doctors were aware, and they were happy to prescribe enough morphine to keep him comfortable, but he would continually wake up and say, "Why aren't I dead yet?"
Wow.
Blair,
Yeah.
I'm really
It's just
sorry. So
I
yeah,
know. How do you reply? Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. The
Yeah.
Jeff and I are still friends. This was, let's see, 94 uh, when Blair died, and Jeff is in Hawaii now on vacation. Yesterday, he sent me a video of surfers' graves in Maui.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. See, I think that is so great. Yeah, it is really neat. I just like your friendship is a running thread through the whole book, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy that. It is so special to have those friends, like lifelong friends. Okay, I love this picture because when I read the book, I was really trying to picture it. I was so happy you sent me a picture of this specific
This is
moment.
me. This was Jeff had a Halloween party, and uh, he had said nobody can dress like me. Um, he had gone to work earlier in the season. I guess it was the previous year. He'd gone to work as his coworkers, and so he had the shaven head, he had the beard and the goatee and all that stuff, but and a full body tattoo. Jeff is completely covered from neck to
Oh, wow.
ankles with tattoos. So he borrowed jeans from a friend. He borrowed a polo shirt and some high tops, and he got pancake makeup and covered all his tattoos and went to work as his coworkers. And people didn't recognize him until they heard his voice. So the next year he just told that story over and over. Nobody is ever going to dress like me. And I was like, challenge
Uh-huh. Yeah.
accepted. So
Uh-huh.
this is me as Jeff, and I've
Oh
got
my God.
one of his tattoos drawn on at my collar, and another one he's got on his hand. So that's why I'm holding the wine glass in that weird position, is to show up the tattoo. And I shaved my head, I put the beard on, and I just answered the door at the Halloween party. And people kept asking him, "Why isn't the guy at the door in costume? What's up with that guy?" And Jeff would say, "Well, there ended up being, I think, four of us that were dressed as Jeff that year."
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't
He
realize
said,
I missed that part.
one
Well,
of the
that's
men,
Jeff.
yeah, exactly. One of the men here is a woman, and they couldn't guess it was me. So
Oh man, that is great.
that was fun.
I think it's so cool that you were able to pass because there was this transgender ball in Port Townsend one year, and it was lip sync thing. We all lip sync stuff, and so I lip synced as Elvis, Jailhouse Rock, because there's
Oh, that's
a
fun.
lot of innuendo in there. And for me, I found I had friends trying to, too bad Elvis didn't have a beard. Maybe that would have helped. But they hadn't gave me a big old pompadour, and we did the thing. And one of the hardest things I found was I found it hard to walk like a dude. Like they had guys, they were took me a while. I finally kind of got it down, but I didn't realize how different we walk as females. It was very fun. But yeah, I think it was great that you were able to, no one thought I was a guy, but
it was so much work though. I had the band-aids on my chest and the whole deal, because I'm a pretty curvy person. And,
yeah. No, I didn't have that issue. I was pretty, so I was like, okay. My issue was just walking, and then having the sock rolled in there and everything. But yeah,
I should have gone with the sock. That would have been more comfortable.
It sounded like, it sounded like it. I recommend a sock for next time. Yes. Maybe. Anyway, it was fun. I just love that story, and I'm so glad you included a picture, because I really wondered. I'm like, wow, I wonder what she looked like. That is so cool. And that facial hair, man, have you reused it since? Is that just a one-off?
I finally got rid of it, but I kept it for years because, it was just, it was so much, just the whole experience of buying it was really fun, because there's a theatrical supply place here in town. And I went in, and the guy behind the counter had this t-shirt that said GWM. And then underneath it, it said, good with makeup.
Oh,
and he was so great. He's like, don't shave your head. You so regret it and all of that. But then he was so perfect with the matching the color of the beard to the color of my hair,
your eyebrows and everything.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, because that I think had been a big giveaway if you had mismatched. I don't know if it didn't work. That would have stood out. So credit to whoever that man was.
Suited my cheekbones and everything. He did a really nice job.
That's really neat. I love that. That was one of my favorite stories in there. Let's see what's next. Oh, you know what we're getting up to. Okay, well, here's a morbid photo for people. I'll just take it away.
Yep, sorry. We probably should have put a trigger warning on that.
I know. I just was like, I didn't think about it. Go away now, people. Oh, well. Scroll.
The book's called This Morbid Life, so you truth in advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
This is from Body Worlds. Have you had a chance to see those? One of those Body Worlds exhibits?
No, but just a second. Apparently, my laptop came unplugged. Yikes!
Uh-oh.
Okay, there. When that happens, I would have just disappeared. No, I haven't. Except I did see okay, I saw something different. It was actually an art exhibit with preserved corpses, but they weren't an anatomical to the point where you could see their capillaries and things like that, which I find really fascinating. It was some other thing. So I would like to see one.
There were two for a while, and
okay.
one was controversial because it may or may not have included prisoners, right? Chinese prisoners. And
no, I didn't see that one either. But
this one was German, and the bodies are all donated. So, I mean, they make a big point of saying,
these are ethically obtained.
Yeah, and the way they're posed and preserved has something to do with who the person was that donated their body. And so I thought the capillaries were amazing because they put red wax into the capillaries, and then they use this preservative that basically strips everything else away so that you're just left with the wax framework. And it was one of those things where I was publishing Morbid Curiosity magazine at the time, and so people would write me and say, hey, this came to my town, and I'd say, please go and write about it, and nobody would. And so finally it came to LA, and our daughter was just a little bit older than a year old. So we packed her up. It was our first family vacation, drove down to LA to see Body Worlds. And it was amazing. I thought, people would be creepy or creeped out or whatever, but it was really interesting to eavesdrop. But a lot of people were looking for, their father had heart disease or their uncle had died of lung cancer or something like that. So they were looking through the bodies to find the thing that struck their family. And
well, it's a view of ourselves that we don't get to see very often.
Yeah,
I mean, we're aware of it kind of, but to see it just like that, like full scale, here's the body, that's pretty cool.
Bodies are really magical. And, I grew up with like the
on a farm, so.
Yeah, there was a museum near my home,
Oh,
a museum in Flint that had one of those invisible people, with
uh-uh.
the plastic skin and
Oh, okay.
the different organs lit up so you could push the button and see the
Oh,
heart and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And so that was cool, but it was clearly artificial. And then you see
Hmm.
these and they are people, to just a really deep level.
Yeah.
And human beings are amazing. The way we're constructed and everything fits together, it's just, we're a wonder.
So many
So,
processes going on that we're not even
yeah,
aware of. That's what always
yeah.
gets me too. It's like
Well,
a lot going
it's
on.
amazing we don't break down, more often because it's so complicated.
Yeah, that's true. Try building this at home. I mean, yeah, this is
Hmm.
pretty
Hmm.
crazy and complex. Yeah. Well, I thought that was really, I enjoyed reading about your experience and just how you responded to it. So, yet another reason to read your book. And then you talk quite a bit about this one particular Venus, we'll call her. Yeah.
Yeah. There was an exhibit at the Exploratorium, which is the science museum in San Francisco, that was called Revealing Bodies, and it was about the intersection between artwork and science. And it was a lot of really cool stuff. They had the sectioned humans on the plexiglass leaves, so you could just
Hmm.
like,
Yeah, leaf through.
page through the body, yeah.
Hmm.
Or there were wax heads from the Mutter Museum and uh, just all kinds of stuff. But kind of the centerpiece of the whole exhibit was this Venus. And she's made out of wax. She's life size. She's laying on this mattress with, you can kind of see the fringe and the embroidery. And uh, she's got real human eyebrows and eyelashes inset, and her hair is
Yeah,
real
that was
human hair.
amazing when you said it was real hair. I've got some
Yeah,
close-ups of her, so people beware. Here we go.
yeah.
Here's a
She's
here's a
she's a
close-up of her
little,
face. I'll show that
yeah.
first.
She's she's just gorgeous. Her skin is flawless, and she's
Hmm.
so perfectly
Well,
modeled that
and,
she looks like a real person.
and she reminds me of those, like some Renaissance painting of like a saint or something. There's just something like just even the pose, just kind of like some sort of raptured,
Hmm.
like Saint so and so in rapture, and yet here she is. She's then she ends up being this teaching tool. Like
Yeah.
she got
Well, and she's she's so complex. She's so well made that there's 7 layers, I think, where
wow.
they take off her chest, and then there's this, you can see the bones and the
Mhm.
musculature, and then they take that off and you can see the organs, and then the organs come out. And I
And what
was obsessed with her.
and what year was she made exactly? Ish.
Well, that's a good
Seventeen
question.
hundreds or
I
ish.
believe it's the end of the
I
1700s.
thought I should point that out because this is not like, okay, the body exhibit. This is recent, and we can figure, yeah, they used all
Yeah.
sorts of modern tech. But one thing that
Well,
really
and
gets
that's a
me, this is,
real human, and this
yeah,
is just a wax model. They
yeah,
were
that's, yeah,
designed so that doctors didn't need to study uh,
do,
anatomy. They
yeah,
didn't need to cut up corpses to
hmm.
study anatomy. They could study these wax models. And I mean, she was like Snow White she was in
Yeah,
a big brass box, right? So
hmm.
I got a membership to the museum just so I could keep coming back to see her. I was totally fascinated with
She
her.
is fascinating. I can see why.
Yeah.
There's just something so intriguing and just enigmatic. Kind of that Mona
Yeah.
Lisa quality of like, I don't know. You can sort of, yeah, very fast.
That's just a perfect way to put it. And part of the exhibit was they did a live tour of the museum that she came from in Italy, which, now big deal. You see live tours of museums all the time, but in 2000, it was cutting edge. Nobody'd done that before. And so she belonged to the La Specola in Florence.
Mm.
So a couple of years later, my husband and I were going to Europe, and we were going to Italy to see cemeteries. We were going to go to Rome and see
Yeah,
the Protestant cemetery.
catacombs, which.
And the catacombs and Venice, we had to go see the island with the
Oh,
cemetery.
real quick, with the catacombs, because you're claustrophobic too. How did you handle it? How claustrophobic are they for someone who's a little claustrophobic?
They're dark, but in most, only went to one. We went to St. Sebastian, and it's 4 layers. I don't know how's the best way to explain it. It's like 4 sets of grave sites, grave niches carved into the site on each floor. So the ceilings are quite high, is what I'm trying to say.
That's helpful then. Okay, that's helpful. Okay.
Yeah, it's narrow and it's dark, and so that's a little stressful, but
the height, that's helpful. So.
Yeah, you feel like you can breathe because there's air over your head.
All right, okay, good.
So anyway, we were going to go to Florence to see the English cemetery, and I was looking through the guidebook and realized that that's where La Specola was. So I was like, oh, can we go and see my Venus?
Yeah.
And, it was great. It was really cool. The museum has like hundreds of bits, just one organ or whatever. And then there were, I don't know, 7 or 8 of these life-size, full-size bodies. Yeah, she really is a teaching tool. But the one that upset me the most was it was a man who looked kind of like my photo of the Body Worlds guy with lymph nodes, so you could see how the lymph system connects through the body. And he wasn't in ecstasy like the Venus. He looked like he was in pain. He was just, eyes rolled back in his head and kind of contorted. And so, the artistry that went into these was amazing.
It really is. It's like the intersection of art and science. Just really just wow, right there. And I liked how you explained that in the exhibits there was a place to like set your arms so you could you could stand there and sketch. You could imagine the students coming through to learn anatomy and stopping to do sketches to learn how these systems work.
I process things by writing it down. So I was like, yay, I could sit down and write my notebook. And as we were there was this school group came through of I don't know, 2nd graders maybe. And, we had all these wonderful things on the walls and all around us and everything. And the kids were fascinated by me because I was this American woman with tattoos, and they just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, look at the stuff.
Yeah, you ended up being part of the exhibit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they went home and they were like telling their parents about the American woman. But.
Well, hey, that's always fun. You're always an ambassador when you travel, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now I think I love the cover. Speaking of art, I love the cover itself of your book, and how maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you ended up with such a wonderful cover.
Well, I've been working with this cover artist whose name is Lynn Hansen, and she did the cover of my
I've got it here.
My short story collection. There, that's it. Unsafe Words.
Yeah, that's great. I just stare at that. Yeah, both of them. These are Lynn Hansen. You said her covers.
Lynn Hansen.
I just end up. Some books, I love books in general, and some covers I just can, stare at. And hers are really like daydreamy, cool.
She's so good, and all her work is different.
Yeah.
So when I pitched her the story collection, I said, I saved this image from 30 years ago of a skeleton turning into a tree, and I don't know where it came from. I think it was an Adam and Eve, and it turns out it's Dur or something like that. But she was able to take this image of it was basically the tree of life, but to turn it into this skeleton. And she said, she had this whole thing about, and the tree's limbs are like wings. And
I think I see them as wings too. And and yet I like that because wings take you to the heavens, but tree takes you to the earth. And so this is a really, well, Lynn, I like her stuff.
And I said, I wanted it to be kind of autumnal, kind of Ray Bradbury flavor to it and all of that. And so she came up with that, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So last October, and I don't know if she's doing it again this October or not, but she did a challenge where she made a book cover every day. And
is she on Instagram or something? Or?
Yeah. I can put it in the chat. I'll type it in for you.
Okay. Yeah, people can check that out. Yeah, I really love her work. This is a very nice photo, perfectly autumnal. Could be reading on your device. People can read that on.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a really great photo.
Last October, she was doing this challenge, and every piece was different. And so, there were summary pieces, and there were funny pieces, and pieces with skeletons and all this stuff. And then one day, toward the end of the month, she put up this torso with the you could see the rib cages open, and there are butterflies and moonflowers in it. And I just was shaking. I loved it so much. She sells them at a discount, and if you subscribe to your newsletter, you get a discount and all this other stuff. So I wrote her, and I'm like, Lynn, tell me how much this is. Tell me nobody else has bought it. I want this.
Yeah.
This picture, please. And at that point, I didn't have a book to go with it. I can't. She called it Guts, I think, instead of Morbid is my title, but the piece was called Guts. I don't know, something like that. And it was really at the bottom. She instead of my name, it said,
it's perfect for your
name here. Yeah, and I was like, I've been wanting to do this memoir for a long time. I had put a book together in 2011 and 2012, something like that. And I had a publisher for it, and it was going to be a memoir called This Morbid Life. And they never got around to publishing it. They never even put it on the publishing schedule. They wanted it, and
the cracks. Like, it wasn't time. You needed this gorgeous cover, apparently.
Yeah, I guess.
This is perfect for it. It's so funny that you found it, and then. But I can relate too. Sometimes when I see a cover, that really kind of helps everything come together. Oh, now it's real. But that is just the perfect cover. That is so funny. Wow.
I'm so happy with it. She does such beautiful work, and
I know. I really
that was like she was in my head.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of putting together another book in the same series as this, another memoir that'll be just travel stories, not cemetery travel, just travel. And so
I'm sure it'll be good. I look forward to that too.
I'm gonna send Lynn a bunch of essays and say, okay, make me something. I know it'll be brilliant, whatever she does.
She definitely jibes with your stuff. That's great. I realize we're coming up to the top of the hour, so maybe
oh my goodness.
I know. Geez, where'd the time go? Guys, remember, time flies. If you have questions for Loren, you better ask them now. Ask them now, people. Start typing, because there's a little lag, and I'll give you guys a little chance to catch up. But maybe you could tell us about your other books a little bit, and what you're working on now. I'm sure you've got other things going on, and I'm sure hopefully you get a chance to kind of go, because I know a book release is a big deal.
Well, it's just, especially now, in the before times, I would go to the bookstore, and we'd have people come in, and I'd read a little bit, and it'd be a whole thing. And now, you gotta find people where they are. So I'm going to be reading online for the Story Hour. The Story Hour 2000. I don't know. It's on my website.
Okay. But, people I've been slacking. I usually tell people to more about check out her links in the show notes, people. I put links down there so you can find more about Loren, her books, and connect with her, get on her newsletter, things like that. Follow her, all the good places she is at. Yeah,
and I'll be doing some readings online, so that stuff will be on my website. But this 199 cemeteries was my, I don't know. I don't know if it's like the work of my life or whatever, but that was so much fun. I love that. That's the first book of yours, I thought. Yeah, that's where a lot of people come in, because that one,
Oh, the entry.
I see it and they're like, oh, that's black. I like the black cover.
Yeah.
It's a illustrated encyclopedia of cemeteries around the world. So it's pretty, straightforward, no commentary kind of thing.
It'll make you want to go. It'll make you want to hit the road.
That's
though.
what I hope.
Oh, here's people. We'll check your books out. I was ignoring.
Thank you.
Let's see. Here, great show. Okay, here we go. Oh, someone's asking, do you have a favorite cemetery that you revisit often, Loren?
Oh,
and then you can tell us about this one.
It's a great question. There's one south of me in San Francisco. San Francisco doesn't have any cemeteries, so I have to leave town to go see one. The last place I went before we got locked down last year was Cypress Lawn, and it's just gorgeous. It's a big garden cemetery that dates to the 1880s, and
yeah, nice.
They have this huge public mausoleum that's full of Tiffany windows and stained glass ceilings, and it's just gorgeous. It's the best place to go on a rainy day because it's so full of color.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cypress Lawn.
Oh, sounds nice. If I'm sounding wistful, I'm like, oh yes, I am being wistful. Well, and Philip's going to check your books. Yeah, anybody wants to check our books out, there are links below. And I want to remind everybody that if you, for a chance to win a book, make sure you just leave a comment on this video. That's all you got to do. We'll pick someone next Wednesday, and then I'll contact Loren, and then you can read her book. Of course, don't wait till then. You can check out her books with all the links we got below. Maybe you can tell people about Wish You Were Here as well.
Wish You Were Here is kind of my cemetery memoir. It's focused on cemeteries that I've visited and just everything I've learned about the history and the famous people buried there, and what it means to be a person who voluntarily goes to cemeteries on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah, people don't always get it, but I'm definitely in there. Hey, hi Scott, thanks for showing up. Make sure you can miss it. If you just pulled in, you missed a good interview. But yeah, that is it. And so now, are you, I think last time we spoke, you were talking about another kind of cemetery road trip book.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
You're probably like me, where you have several things going at the same time. And
it's like those Chinese acrobats with the plates, right? You spin one and then you run for the next one. So
yeah.
I want to do another book kind of in the vein of Wish You Were Here. And I was thinking about calling it Graveyard Field Trips. Because it's going to be me dragging my friends to cemeteries. But somebody said, obviously, if you're going to make a sequel to Wish You Were Here, you're going to call it Still Wish You Were Here. And I was like, yes.
Hello. Yeah.
It will be Still Wish You Were Here, which is like one of the things that I collect are cemetery postcards. And
that's just so cool. Why don't I collect those? I didn't know this was a thing.
You need to collect cemetery postcards. They're the
best. What is wrong with me? Oh, I'm definitely going to start now.
But you'll be amazed at the number of times people write on them, "Wish You Were Here," and I just think that's hilarious because they wish?
What are they getting at? It's like when someone
on the trip, or do they wish you were buried in the ground? What does that mean?
It's one of those dubious moments. It's like when someone gives you a bar of soap. You're like, what are you trying to say? Thank you, but why? This smells really good. Okay, what do you? Is there subtext here? I don't know. Oh, that sounds like a good book. Well, okay, definitely going to sign me up for all those. I will be reading all those. Scott's apologizing. You don't have to apologize.
No, I'm glad you're here.
We are. Wish you were here. You are here. What are we saying? Yeah, you have lots of great books, and it sounds like there's more things coming. People, you need to. She has a newsletter. You're going to want to sign up to it. Just check out our links. And was there anything else you wanted to tell people before I let you go?
I think that the best thing in the world is to go walk in a cemetery, and if you get the chance, you should go and just take Tui's books and figure out what you're looking at, and just enjoy life. Especially the way things have been for so long. This last couple of years where we're isolated from each other and trapped in our homes and all the rest of that. I think it's even more important than normal to take some time for yourself and go out and get some sunshine if it's not 90 degrees, but enjoy the green grass and smell the flowers and listen to the bird song and just appreciate being here alive now, because it's a wonder.
It is. Well, thank you very much. And I just want to remind everyone to leave a comment for a chance to win her wonderful book, and definitely check out Loren's books. There are links below. I really enjoyed this Morbid Life, and it is really just a beautiful book, and very personal, a wonderful memoir, and very interesting. People enjoyed having you. So, okay, thanks again, and goodbye, everybody. Thanks to everybody who came and everyone who might be watching the replays too. And thank you especially, Loren, for coming back on the show.
Wow, and thanks to everybody for indulging my little morbid stories. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir here. You bet. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.